On my daughter's 10th birthday, I found out the entire family had flown to Miami without telling me. I commented, "So you all left town today?" My dad replied, "Didn't feel like babysitting a problem child." I wrote back, "Perfect. Because your retirement fund just lost its sponsor." They laughed it off. 9 days later, their group chat was on fire, and my dad was begging me to talk. I'd been watching the clock since 6 a.m., trying to make it special. Ellie turned 10 that day, double digits. She'd been talking about it since summer, counting down like it was Christmas. I blew up 30 balloons the night before and stuck them to the ceiling with tape that didn't hold very well. By morning, half of them were sagging toward the floor, but she didn't care. She woke up and screamed like she won the lottery. She ran down the hall with her hair all over the place, yelling, "I'm 10. She hugged me so tight I almost dropped the pancakes. There was no party, not a real one. Just me and her like it's always been. But I had decorated the kitchen, set out confetti, and made a little scavenger hunt that led her around the house until she found her gift. A pink cruiser bike with a white basket, streamers on the handlebars, and a bell that she wouldn't stop ringing for the next hour. She cried when she saw it. She made little party hats for everyone. I'm not kidding. She used glitter paper, glued on stickers, and wrote Grandma, Grandpa, Auntie Bree, and Mom in her crooked handwriting. She even taped toothpicks to them so they'd stick up. She laid them out carefully on the table, so sure they'd come by at some point. "Do you think they'll get here before cake?" she asked, like it was just a matter of time, like she believed in them more than I ever could. I checked my phone every 10 minutes pretending I wasn't. No texts, nothing in the family group chat. I'd posted pictures of Ellie's morning, her opening presents, riding the bike, making silly faces. Nothing, not even a thumbs up, not even from Bree, who normally reacts to everything I post like it's her job. By noon, I gave up hoping. I went to Instagram, not because I suspected anything, just muscle memory. I tapped through stories while Ellie chalked the sidewalk with a giant happy day to me. That's when I saw it. A boomerang of my sister at the airport with a drink in her hand. Then a group photo. My mom, my dad, Bree, her kids, even Aunt Mara, all standing in front of a welcome to Miami mural. Everyone smiling, throwing peace signs. They were already there. I kept watching. There were palm trees, beach chairs, a lunch spread with lobster tails and margaritas. Caption, family trip. First time all together in years. I stared at it, so long my screen dimmed. Not one of them had said a word to me. Not a single mention. Ellie's 10th birthday, and they'd flown out of state that morning. I left a comment under Bree's story. "You all left town today?" No one replied right away. I waited, fed Ellie lunch, cut the cake, just the two of us. She asked if we should wait to do the candles. I told her no, and we lit them anyway. An hour later, my dad wrote in the group chat. "Didn't feel like babysitting a problem child. It didn't even feel real." I didn't ask what he meant. I knew exactly what he meant. They think Ellie's difficult because she's high energy. Because she doesn't sit quietly in the corner like Bree's kids. Because she asks a million questions and doesn't shut up about things she loves. I used to think they just didn't understand her. Now I think they just don't care. I wrote back, "Perfect, because your retirement fund just lost its sponsor." And I meant it. Every month for the past 5 years, I'd been sending them money. Not because they asked, because I didn't want them to struggle. Medical bills, groceries, electric, whatever. My mom always said they couldn't make it without me. I believed her. They laughed it off. Bree sent one of those stupid laughing emojis. My dad said I was being dramatic. My mom replied, "Don't be like this, Amanda. We just needed a break." No one apologized. 9 days later, I woke up to 22 messages, missed calls, voicemails. The group chat was on fire. My dad had written, "Amanda, please, can we talk?" Because now the rent was late. The fridge was empty, and I wasn't sending anything anymore. I didn't answer right away. That wasn't some plan or strategy. I just didn't have anything left to give. For once, I wasn't scrambling to smooth things over, fix what they broke, or explain why their words hurt. I just stood in the kitchen with my coffee, staring at my phone as message after message came in. 22 total, all from them. My dad started it. A short text. "Can we talk?" Then another. Then 3 missed calls. A voicemail. Then my mom jumped in. Her messages were longer. "Guiltier," she wrote. "We didn't mean it like that. And I hope you understand the trip was already booked months ago." There was a paragraph about how expensive groceries had gotten and how retirement didn't go as planned. A lot of vague phrases, not one actual apology, not one word about Ellie. The thing that struck me most was how quickly the tone changed from dismissive to desperate. 9 days ago, I was the dramatic one. Now, they were acting like this was all a big misunderstanding. But nothing was misunderstood. I'd been footing their bills for years. Rent, utilities, medication. They needed it, and I gave it without question because they were family. And I thought someday they'd return the favor, not with money, but with time, effort, love. Turns out they couldn't even give that to a 10-year-old on her birthday. I muted the group chat, took Ellie out for ice cream in the middle of a school day because I could. She got bubblegum flavor with sprinkles and made the cashier laugh by telling him it was still her birthday week. She made everything feel lighter without even trying. That night, after she was asleep, I finally listened to the voicemails. My dad sounded exhausted. He said things had been stressful, that he hadn't meant what he said about Ellie, that he was overwhelmed and the words had come out wrong. Then there was a pause. After that, he said, "We're counting on you this month. We thought the deposit would come through on Friday, but it didn't. Can you help us again?" My mom sounded shakier. She said she didn't realize I was still so sensitive, that the trip was a once-in-a-lifetime thing, that Bree had organized everything and insisted they go. She ended with, "You know we love you, right? Even when we don't say it." But it wasn't about what they said. It was about how they never showed it. The next morning, Bree texted me. She said I was being unnecessarily cold, that our parents were older now, that I knew how hard things had been for them. She said cutting them off financially without warning was cruel. I didn't argue or explain myself. I just replied, "I didn't cut them off without warning. They warned me." She left me on read point. 2 days later, my dad messaged again. "Please call me. Just 5 minutes." I ignored it. I wasn't trying to make a statement. I was just living my life, something I hadn't done without guilt in years. That Saturday, Ally asked if we could take a small trip. I opened my laptop and let her choose. She picked a cabin by a lake, with paddle boats, fire pits, and hammocks. I booked it immediately, using the money I usually sent for my mom's prescriptions. I felt a brief ache, but it passed. The morning we left, Bree posted a photo on Facebook. It showed my parents' fridge, mostly empty, just a carton of eggs and a bottle of ketchup. The caption read, "This is what happens when you raise ungrateful children." I stared at it for a minute, then closed the app, zipped Ellie's bag, and told her to grab her stuffed bear. Let them feel what I had carried for 10 years. Let them sit in the silence they created every time they skipped her recitals, ignored her birthdays, or misspelled her name on Christmas cards. This time, I wasn't fixing it. The cabin was worn, old wood paneling, a squeaky screen door, mismatched dishes that looked like they came from 5 different yard sales. But to Ellie, it was perfect. As soon as we arrived, she ran to the dock with her sneakers in one hand and her bear in the other, shouting, "This is the best vacation ever." She didn't even ask for Wi-Fi. We tried fishing. She tangled the line so badly I had to cut it 3 times. We burned marshmallows black. We stayed up late playing board games. On the second night, we watched the stars through the skylight, and she asked if the moon ever got lonely. That one stayed with me. The trip cost about the same as one of my mom's prescriptions. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty. It didn't feel like I was taking something from someone else to give to Ellie. It felt like it was mine to give, my time, my money, my energy, and hers to receive. When we got home Sunday night, my phone nearly overheated with notifications. Missed calls from my parents, 8 texts from Bree, 2 voicemails, and a new group chat titled Family Emergency. I didn't open any of it. I unpacked with Ellie, gave her a warm bath, tucked her into bed, then made myself tea and sat on the couch while the phone kept buzzing. I let it happen without responding, like a storm I no longer ran from. Later, I listened to the voicemails. My dad said they were behind on rent, had no groceries, and needed help. He said I was being emotional and letting things go too far. My mom talked about how hard it was to live on Social Security, said the Miami trip was a mistake, said it wasn't what it looked like. She said they hadn't realized how much Ellie wanted them there. Then she shifted to saying Bree was overwhelmed too. She never apologized. The next morning, I got an email from Ellie's school about a summer enrichment program, robotics, music, creative writing, swimming. I signed her up for everything. I also booked a trip to Yazidi in July. She once said she wanted to see a real mountain, not one on TV, so I made it happen. That afternoon, Bree called. I let it ring. She texted, saying Mom and Dad were now asking her for help, that utilities were due, that I was putting everyone in a bad position. I didn't reply. Hours later, she messaged again. It's just sad. All this money wasted on one kid while the rest of the family suffers. I sat with that sentence for a long time. That's how they saw it. Wasted on one child. Not as me giving my daughter a better life, but as me keeping what they believed belonged to them by default. That night, I bought Ellie the telescope she'd wanted for months. I posted a photo of her using it in the backyard on my private Facebook. Just us. Bree must have seen it somehow, because later she messaged, "Must be nice playing single mom with a trust fund." Then she added, "Real families stick together." I didn't feel angry, just tired, because I finally saw the truth. None of it had ever been about love, Ellie, or support. It was about control, about what they believed they were owed. To them, I was never really a daughter, just a resource. And now that resource was gone. They weren't afraid of losing me. They were panicking about losing the money. Life grew quieter after that. April began, and Ellie became obsessed with Saturn. Every night, she'd sit outside with her telescope, wrapped in a blanket, pointing at stars whether she could see it or not. I liked the silence too. I stopped checking my phone, stopped caring about the family group chat. Then the school called. Someone claiming to be Ellie's grandmother tried to pick her up early. She knew all the details, but Ellie wasn't on the pickup list. The school stopped it and reported it. That shook me. They had crossed a line. I went to the school, locked everything down, and left feeling like I'd finally exhaled after years of holding my breath. My mom later left a voicemail saying it was just a surprise, not an abduction, and that I was overreacting. No apology. I blocked her. A week later, a legal letter arrived. They were trying to use my past financial help as proof of obligation, even suggesting I was a financial proxy. I called the lawyer and made it clear I was no longer supporting them. When they tried to turn my guilt into paperwork, something changed. I didn't feel guilty anymore. I felt clear. They weren't asking for help. They were trying to own me. Meanwhile, Ellie was thriving. Summer programs, space notebooks, coding robots, endless curiosity. I wasn't going to let anyone shrink her to make things easier for themselves. When Bree messaged again saying I should be the bigger person, I blocked her too. I wasn't the glue anymore. By summer, my life felt full in a quiet way. Library Saturdays, Sunday pancakes, planning imaginary trips on the floor. I stopped living around other people's needs. And whatever struggles they had after that, I only heard about them from a distance. Nothing terrible happened, just discomfort. The same discomfort I'd been carrying for years. In July, Ellie and I went to Uzite. She stopped on the trails to study rocks like museum pieces and asked if the mountains remembered things. I took a photo of her holding a jagged stone like treasure. We printed it and taped it to the fridge, next to a postcard we mailed to ourselves. That became our tradition, proof we were there. The silence from my family lasted until August, when Bree showed up unannounced with a box of old books and DVDs. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. She talked fast, about Ellie, about our parents not sleeping, about how the family felt broken. Then she said I'd made my point, and it was time to stop holding grudges. I told her I wasn't holding a grudge. I was just no longer participating. She got frustrated. Said I was stubborn, that Ellie was getting spoiled, that it wasn't fair for one child to have so much while the rest struggled. That's when I understood. She wasn't there as a sister. She was there to negotiate money. Before leaving, she said, "It's sad, Amanda, destroying a family over one birthday." I told her to take the box back. It wasn't about the birthday. It was about what it revealed, that money had been the only thing holding us together. In September, Ellie and I took a train trip. She leaned on my shoulder and said it had been the best year of her life. I didn't post it. I didn't need to. Almost a year later, Ellie turned 11. No waiting for people who wouldn't show. No excuses. Just a planetarium trip she'd planned herself. On the way home, she said, it was perfect. There were no messages from my parents. None from Bree. Just silence, and occasional guilt-filled posts online. I used to think cutting them off required certainty and proof. But when I stopped giving money, access, and explanations, they didn't fall apart. They performed. Guilt replaced love. That's when I realized they weren't really family. They were people who stayed as long as I gave them something. Ellie, meanwhile, is thriving, building solar systems, planning trips, writing little weekly missions for us. She doesn't miss people who never truly saw her. And neither do I. I showed up for my child. I showed up for myself, and I'm not going back.